The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, comedy cordless, everybody. Up to the satellite and down to your phone. How about that? It's all fucking magic. It's Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, 11 p.m. on the West Coast of the East Coast of the, okay. We're in Sydney, Australia, too, and right now, it's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time in Elon Ulmer's district, where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis. I am Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters Tonight, episode number 119 for your scorecard. Okay, so what do we got going on here? Well, I'll tell you what we got going on. My leg still fucking hurts. That's what's going on. Although I figured out, I mastered the obvious. Now, I'm sorry, those of you who didn't see the show the last couple nights, I am having hip surgery on Monday, June 3rd. And yeah, I'm in a good deal of pain, but I figured something out. If I don't walk, it doesn't hurt. So I'm I'm even more sedentary than I have been in the past, which is hard to believe because I've been pretty sedentary the last few years. So although I have to say I'm looking forward to getting this fixed and getting some exercise. I really am. But at any rate, so I got it going on. Yep, sitting at home. We're talking sitting. A lot of sitting, folks. So what's going on here? Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's going on here tonight. Our guests, the dynamic duo making their monthly appearance. That's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from RedState.com and AsAGirlTurns.com. Jeff Myers, CEO and publisher of Conk News at Conk.com, CONK.com. And they're our sponsor, and we'll run their commercial before we put our guests on. So they're on tonight. Tomorrow we got Call-In Thursday. Now I'm getting lazy, and also I'm in pain. So I have to admit, the next couple of weeks, we have some guest booked, but it's not like we don't have a full slate. I don't. And also this week I took yesterday off, and next week I'm taking Wednesday off, and I'm taking a day off the following week too. And then we have surgery, and I'm taking that entire week off. So tomorrow night it's Call-In Thursday. You call in. Oh yeah, this is really great. I hope you can do this. Blog Talk Radio is offline yet again. So, and this is, according to my calculation, the 7th time in the last month. This is not good. Not good at all. So you can't call in. You see that number on the bottom of the screen there, the call-in audio number right here? That doesn't work tonight. So there's two ways you can call in. You can call in with your camera. You got to go to jimatnight.com/call. Go to that webpage. There's a giant big blue button at the top of the webpage. Click on that, and it will connect your camera to our studio. That's the way it works. I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but it works great. It's really, really simple. So you click on the big blue button. You get to preview screen. You get to check your camera and mic, making sure everything look good, and you don't have any naked people behind you on camera and all that sort of stuff. And then you push the join button at the bottom and you're in. It's as simple as that. It's easier than making a FaceTime call. Seriously. So you can call up, you can join us, or you can leave a text in real time right here, 408-458-5088. I got the screen on the side here. I get the text instantly. You can ask. It's great if you want to ask the panel questions, without actually having to boot up your camera and all those other crap. So you can leave a text. But no, unfortunately, there is no audio call-in, no phone number tonight. So we got the dynamic duo tonight. We got Call-In Thursday tomorrow. God, seriously, I hope the call-in number works. I really do. Monday, Monologue Monday. Tuesday, Ed Morrissey, he's the managing editor of hotair.com. He's coming on. We're going to talk to him. Had a great discussion. He came on about 6 weeks ago. The guy is really good at foreign policy. He knows a lot of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Next Wednesday, a week from today, we're taking that day off. And then Thursday, we got something. I don't know what yet. So we'll be back. So yeah, so the last 3 weeks here of May, we're only doing 3 nights a week. So because I need to sleep. I'll be perfectly honest. The running around with this goddamn leg thing it's downright exhausting. I was just talking to Jeff before we were come on here. Um, Jeff Meyer, he's talking about his mother. She had her hip done, and like everybody, and it's true. I know a lot of people have had the surgery, including my own mother. Um, it's like you feel instantly better, and I'm looking forward to that. So, but right now, I do not feel instantly better. So Jeff is the CEO of Calling News, and here's the front page of Calling News in real time. I just booted this up about half an hour ago. I was looking. There are no. I didn't find any particularly intriguing stories. Other than not that the news here isn't fantastic, and that's the thing. This is a news aggregator. It gathers news from 75 different sources every 3 hours, lays them out on the front page in chronological order, regardless of where they came from. In other words, the news stories are at the top, regardless of their source. So, and you look at I won't use my cursor now, I'm learning because you can't see it. But if you look at the top two stories there, that's my picture in the right corner. They're putting that up. It's very nice because they sponsor the show. That's very cool. But the top two stories there, and it's a little small, but I think in the left hand side, I think that's National Review, and then on the middle section, the logo at the bottom left corner is 100% fed up. I know that. Um, yeah, so they do this every 3 hours. It all lays out fantastic. The pictures are from the articles directly. The headlines are not rewritten. You click through, you go directly to the article. You don't go to an interstitial page. You don't go to an ad. You don't go to the front page of their website. No, you go right to that article. So it's basically like a consolidated newspaper. I think it's the closest thing to a real newspaper. If you're an old fart like me and still like newspapers, even though they're a pain in the butt, and it's like I understand. I mean, I don't buy them anymore. Actual printed hard copies, I don't. I did for a long time. My wife had, this is in 2007 and 2008 and 9. She had she's a breast cancer survivor, and she had numerous surgeries. And to placate me, it's very nice of her. She not only bought me a tablet, which were relatively new at that time, she also bought me a subscription to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times online. It was great. And I haven't bought a hard copy newspaper since. You know, other than when maybe I'm flying or something like that. I refuse to pay that damn Wi-Fi fee on the airlines. I'm not gonna do it. Like F you, you know. But so at the airport, what hard copy of the Wall Street Journal is now $4. And I know they charge a couple extra dollars at the airport too. I'll still pay the $6 to buy the paper, rather than sign up for the Wi-Fi because you never. And also, you know, I'm a computer programmer. I've had pretty good luck not getting my the devices infected. Who knows what the hell's going on with that Wi-Fi anyway? So, at any rate, I digress. So, this is the reason I brought that up. Like I said, this is the closest thing to an old-fashioned hard copy newspaper you'll get online. It all changes every 3 hours. You can spend 3 hours reading the front page. There's that many stories. I mean, this is the very top of it. It scrolls down a long ways, and then you come back 4 hours later, and 80% of the stories are new, and the old ones are all at the bottom. So anyway, Jeff has a fantastic product here, and we're happy and proud to be part of it. So anyway, yeah, check this out. It's at conk.com, conk.com, Conk News. And with that, without further ado, we're going to play 12 seconds of bumper music and put our guests on. Here we go. Yes, look who's here. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. The gang's all here.
Yeah,
that's right.
And Jennifer, you got a new camera and mic and stuff and lights. Yeah.
New microphone and lighting. Hollywood lighting.
Looks good.
Oh, good.
It looks good. Very good. And Jeff, what do you got?
A mosquito flying around my head.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Oh
I wish it would just land and draw some blood and go do what it's got to do.
I've been told that mosquitoes in Minnesota are about the size of Buicks. So
Yes, that's
I
true.
can hear it even with my headphones in.
Lord.
You can hear it.
Jim, I was on Conk earlier before the show started, and it is a slow news day because Trump was not in the courtroom today. That's number one. But number two, that center article by 100% Fed Up, and I like how they just have the big red blob and no picture. The headline was that the U.S. Capitol found a bag of cocaine at their headquarters. So obviously Hunter Biden was in there at some point in the last day or so.
Yeah, I was thinking
likes the no sugar.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a slow news day when that's actually at the top of the news. Like, who cares? Jeez. Well, we got a lot. We got a lot to talk about here. I'll tell you. So let me start. Okay, so of course, Biden agreed to debate Trump today. And I assume you guys all heard this, right?
Yeah.
2 debates. 6/27, June 27th, and then sometime in September. And my first question is, they're not going to do the September one, are they?
I don't even believe they're going to do the June one, frankly.
Yeah.
No. He's already coming up with all of these caveats, and we can't have this moderator, and it's not going to be on Fox News, and it's like he's setting himself up to make excuses and blame it on Trump.
Biggest caveat: no audience, which I find just amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at it I don't know if you've dealt with anyone who has memory issues or cognitive issues, but people are a distraction. Noises, being able to focus in on one thing. An audience would just, he'd be frizzed if he had to deal with an audience.
Brandon Morse on Red State wrote this today. It was an offhand comment, but I never heard this before. He said he has a friend of his who's a first responder, an EMT, and he said that this guy's noticed that I've never noticed this, that Biden avoids his own shadow, and that's a sign of dementia. I didn't know that.
Wow. Is that probably why he goes off to the side? And
I don't know, but this guy said he has noticed this, that he avoids his own shadow. So
no, that's interesting. I haven't caught that Brandon article.
No, I haven't either. I never even heard that before, but I trust him. I don't know. Jeff, you see your own shadow?
I do.
I just do you avoid your own shadow?
I can't believe it's me. Following myself. I think the funny thing about the whole Biden thing is they had a chance to let him just be old, and they kept covering it up and saying, no, he's fine. And all these people said he's fine. The problem is you can't
there's
fix
no covering
old.
Up old age. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. You're old. You stink, you lose.
Well, it's especially if you're someone who probably never took care of yourself, which he, I don't know, he rides his bike. Who cares? And who knows if that's not posed.
He showers with his daughter. I don't know if that counts, but
yeah. And now that whole thing has been back. It's been on Conk the last few days.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and so again, and we're all. None of us want our garbage dumped out, but there's certain times in life when that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to move on. And they thought they could outsmart the whole system, and it's just going to blow up because and to me is Kamala is so disliked and untrusted by everyone that if he really does have a serious problem, it's not going to be internal issues in the U.S. Someone from the outside is going to try something. We're totally discombobulated.
Yeah.
I've been saying for quite a while now, if Biden was an excellent president, if it was the opposite of what it is, they'd still pull him off the stage because of his age, you know.
Right.
I mean, it has nothing to do with. Well, I mean, it kind of does. I mean, you know, he's fucking everything up. But even if he wasn't fucking everything up, it would. They'd still, you know, he'd still get the hook. He would.
Right.
So yeah, so it would be just interesting to see how all these things compound onto each other because of the decision they made. It's just not going to get better.
And there's still people saying that they think they're going to pull him at the convention. I don't understand. I don't see how they could do it. The time constraints now, but you know, I mean, there's still people that believe this. I mean, Bill Maher's been saying this. Tommy Lahiren's been saying this. I mean, you know, so you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think part of it is that there's, you know, Cruella de Jill and other people. I think that they're all wanting things to stay the way they are. I think most of the factions did want to pull him a while ago and, you know, either install Gavin. Thank God they didn't do that. He imploded. But
yeah, right.
You know, they were going to find somebody else. But I think I agree with you, Jim. It's a little bit too late now because got too much resistance. And I
also
think
just Jennifer, just resistance from Biden himself. I don't think
he wants, right.
He doesn't want to give it up. I don't think he does.
Well, I don't even think it's him. I think it's, like I said, Jill. Cruella de Jill is not interested in giving things up. So
yeah, well, that's elder abuse, isn't it? I mean, seriously,
it is. It is. It's really just disgusting. I mean, look at the way she treats him. You know, drags him along or lets him go wander off and look like an idiot. I mean, obviously there's, you know, some animus there or something going on. She's not a nice person.
So now, you know, I'm into production here because I'm a nerd. I don't know if you guys noticed this. People pointed this out. The video that they posted on Twitter announcing this was 13 seconds long, and there was 5 edits in it.
Yeah,
the guy couldn't even get through a 14-second announcement without fucking up.
Right.
You know, it's unbelievable.
And he still garbled all of his words and sounded like yes, you know, like mush mouth. I mean, it's just very sad.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go on to something else. Now, you guys have seen this. You know, he did this interview with what's her name, Erin Burnett from. I'm sorry, that's insulting, but really, who knows her name? Erin Burnett on
CNN. I actually appeared on her show. That was one of my first.
You did, huh?
Yes, one of my first media appearances was on her show when, you know, CNN.
She seems like, is she a nice woman? She seems like a relatively nice woman.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
She never invited me on again, so I can't say.
Okay, so you know, on this broadcast, besides, you know, okay, I have to preference this. I don't mind, you know, when you know, Biden tells all these whoppers about corn pop and about, you know, how he was raised by Puerto Ricans and all this sort of shit. I don't really, that doesn't really bother me. I mean, Trump does the same thing. Trump is a serial exaggerator, you know. But when you actually lie about actual policy, that's when it bothers me. So Biden gets on the tube and he says, when I took office, inflation was at 9.1%, and that's a bald-faced lie. It was at 1.4%. I wasn't even close. Now, the thing is, since then, that was like 2-3 days ago, he doubled down on that. And then was saying, well, somebody must have pulled him aside and said, sir, you're either wrong or whatever. And my question to you guys is, he's obviously aware of the fact that at this point somebody must have pointed that's incorrect. So why is he repeating it? I have a theory, but, you know, I'm here to ask you guys questions. What do you think? Jeff, what do you think?
I don't think he understands what the number means. So he wouldn't know is 9's almost 10 and 10's perfect. Right? Um,
3 is a magic number.
yeah. So,
Okay.
so he's
Sorry.
stuck in his head that it was 9%. And again, it goes back to our previous topic. I mean, he is confused. And so he doesn't understand that line about that being at 9, because maybe he thinks, well, it's coming down. Well, it's 9 plus whatever he added to it. You know, what did the CPI come out today at? Like
Yeah.
0.3%, but it's up 3.4% for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where he can't hide that pain from people or give them an aspirin or a drink or
No.
a joint,
No.
because that pain just never, it's brutal. And businesses are feeling it and they don't know quite how to react to it, because your labor costs are up and you can't say to your troops, hey, we can't do any more raises, because that's just not going to work. So, I mean, it's the perfect storm for something good to happen. I just don't think our government leaders at any level, state, federal, local, their retirements are in their mind guaranteed. I heard a friend of mine, a school teacher, talking about that, and I'm like, I tried not to say, well, nothing's guaranteed, but they think it's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you could put it this way: it's as guaranteed as anything could be, right? No, you're right. Nothing's guaranteed. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
Social Security could collapse. I mean, it could.
Well, and pensions, teachers' pensions could collapse.
Yes.
You
That's
take
very realistic, actually.
A stock market downturn and a state gets over its skis and they got to declare some kind of bankruptcy. Those are the things that they're going to cut right away.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, California, part of its deficit is it was reliant or thinking that capital gains would carry them through people leaving the state. And of course, it has not.
Yeah.
So, Newsom is doing his song and dance and borrowing from the emergency fund and, proposing all this ridiculousness. And, if the stock market doesn't turn around or if it takes another bad turn, they're still in trouble.
Who's going to go bankrupt first, Illinois or California?
California.
Yeah, and it'll be more of a municipality will have a big municipality will have a problem.
Yeah.
That sucks in the rest of the state that's saying, hey, that's your problem.
Well, they already have problems.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is one of the most poorly run, corrupt cities. I mean, San Francisco's small in scale by comparison to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is a big old mess. They've got Democrat socialists running the city council now. So, there's trouble on the horizon. And they just hired the head of the major utility in California is the highest paid employee of the city, making $750,000 a year.
No shit.
Like, yes, no shit. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are there CEOs that even make that much anymore?
Well,
and why does anybody need to make that much?
Jennifer, and Anthony Fauci was the highest paid person in the federal government, and he was making $410,000 when he retired.
Right. And
so
not to mention
making almost double that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane that any person who's supposed to be a quote unquote public servant should be even made. And the thing is, these people already have money in their work, and they're going to keep making money from speeches and work. Why are you giving them $750,000? What exactly is she doing that's going to turn the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power around? Not going to happen.
Yeah. Right. And that's the problem is the reason most people that earn a high income, it's because they're doing something unique.
Right. Or you're something life-saving.
Yeah, you'll fly around and do sales in 10 states and never come home for months. That's a unique person, and they get highly compensated, or a doctor, to your point, Jennifer, that can look at an X-ray and say we got to take this out, and you're going to live forever. Anyone in a government agency, they can't do anything to make everyone's life better, because if you wiped them all out, as long as the people that run the power plants show up, everything else is going to be fine.
Well, you're not going to fix that infrastructure. Why aren't you taking that $750,000 and upgrading the infrastructure? Do you know how many blackouts I went through when I lived in California?
Right.
And isn't that absurd? I mean, we're supposed to be a hallmark of a civilized society is that the electricity runs.
Yeah.
The
trains run on time and the lights come on.
Right
now we spend, California spent $11 billion on a train that's not even finished.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and people are starting finally to bitch. I've just seen this on the news the last couple of weeks about the fact that California has spent like well over $1 billion a year on the homeless thing, and it never gets solved ever.
And they cannot account for 24 billion of that money. They have no idea where that 20, and that they want more money so they can investigate where that 24 billion went. It's like, I don't think so.
I'm really getting tired of the whole taxes situation. Why should I pay my taxes if you're going to waste at least half of the money?
You're going to mismanage it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and the thing is, I know things need to be paid. The roads need to be paved. I understand there are costs. So,
but when they're not, have you never driven on California freeway and roads?
Oh yeah,
they're horrible.
Yeah. Hey, I have to tell you, Jennifer. So I lived in California for many years, and my late cousin was the timpanist for the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and I went in 2017. I think I moved out of there like 17 years prior. I went back to see him, and so I'm driving on the Hollywood freeway to his house. And this is what I noticed being back there after 17 years. The city was pretty much the same, but much dirtier. And I'm driving on the Hollywood freeway, and it's a mess. It's just, and I got to his house. He lives in the Hollywood Hills. I got to his house and I said, Mitch, what's with the freeway? And he said, well, Jim, you don't understand. They can't shut it down to fix it. And I never thought about that. He's absolutely right. They
shut it down all the time, but do they fix it? No.
No.
Lynn and I used to joke. My husband and I used to joke about, how long it takes to do a section of the 5 freeway. We lived in the Atwater Village near downtown LA for 7 years, and it took about 5 for them to finish a small section and finally open up a lane. I mean, that's the corruption and the ridiculousness that goes on.
Yeah.
And people just, now they're not asleep at the wheel. Now they're pissed off, and they should be pissed off.
Yeah.
And they're expecting a new gas tax coming up in June.
Oh, I know. It's unbelievable.
$7 a gallon gas already.
Yeah. They're talking about 50 cents a gallon next year. And like, why? I mean, I'm getting at some point, the average person really has to say, what are you doing with this money? It never stops ever. It's the old Margaret Thatcher thing, sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And that's actually true. You do.
And they have. I mean, they've been trying to tax the rich. They've been trying to get, pass these laws that say we get to tax you retroactively. We don't care if you move to Miami or Tennessee or Alabama. We're going to come after you,
Jennifer,
for your taxes.
What do you think of that? Can you imagine them coming to you and saying, no, you owe us back taxes in California? I mean, that's absurd.
And they, that is absurd, and it wouldn't happen. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal.
It is,
no. But they're trying it because they know that they are in trouble. It's like finally they realize, gee, people really are leaving the state. We really are losing money. Yeah.
Right. I'm totally tired. And Jeff, you and I have talked about this before. The thing about taxing the rich, and no one ever brings this up, there actually aren't that many of them.
Yeah.
There's less than 1,000 billionaires in the entire United States. Let's tax the billionaires. Well, that's 1,000 people.
Right.
Even if you get $100 million off of every one of them, what the government will burn through that in like 5 days. I mean, shit.
And define rich. Seriously,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the other thing. How do you define rich?
You've lived in Los Angeles. You've lived in California for a while. I lived there for 35 years. A two-income family making $300,000 a year is not rich in California.
No, not at all. No, it's like it's the same thing in Manhattan. I mean, to live reasonably well in Manhattan, you actually need a $500,000 a year salary. You actually do. You know, I'm just waiting.
People are getting to that tipping point where the work harder, earn more, feel better. That fallacy is gone because that gap, the comfort gap, is too far away. You know.
Hey, Jeff, I have to ask you, but at some time was it true?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, I think you could. I mean, again, Bill Clinton was a good president because he understood that the economy, if the economy flourished, people, you know, and you had a chance. And again, they took the, you know, they made, if you were on welfare, you had to start to work. I mean, if you can be productive and start to get your own stuff, then you buy a 50-inch TV instead of having a 36-inch or whatever. I mean, those are little incremental things, but if you're empowering yourself through productivity and higher pay, that just doesn't work now because everything is going up. So your wages doesn't build you any buffer.
And it's going up unnecessarily. It's going to ridiculous things like transgender surgeries.
Yeah.
And you know, clean coal and whatever new greenhouse, you know, the Green New Deal and all that stuff. It's going toward things that are proven not to work or proven to waste money. Obama kind of did it under the radar trying to do that. This administration is like, well, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to cancel this and we're not going to do that. And you know, this is what's causing people anxiety. They're saying, well, you're saying this needs to happen, but I'm losing work. I'm paying, you know, I can only buy ground chuck. I can't buy ribeye. It's showing up in their pocketbook, as Jeff says. And when you've got it at that level and you're so out of touch and try to gaslight people and say, oh, you know, wages are up, salaries are up, people are doing well under Biden. It's like, what planet do you live on?
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
and that's the thing. They live on another planet. They are total elitist. And it shows, and people just aren't taking that anymore.
You guys were talking earlier about, you know, people, Jeff, you were talking about like actually like, you know, like earning your way, like succeeding. And so Biden comes out today in this 14-second announcement. He says, he says, I'll fly my plane to the debate, and you can do the same thing too. But I plan on keeping mine for the next 4 years. I'm thinking, yeah, well, Trump earned his. He owns that airplane. He's not borrowing it. You know, you stupid freaking jackass. I mean, God, it's just like, I mean, wow. I'm astonished. I don't know if I've ever seen a person with so much bravado with nothing to back it up as Joe Biden.
And the thing is, you know, because we talked earlier about he's not there. So these are even the people behind the scenes who think this stuff can fly.
Yeah.
Where, oh, you know, do this and you'll look great. And it's like, again, what planet do you live on?
Right.
How many real people do you actually know? Obviously none. If you think this stuff polls well or looks well, this is why you're losing money and losing interest. Nobody wants to listen to that.
And the fallacy of high taxes on the rich is that the government raises all taxes. And so if you're at the bottom end of the spectrum, they clip you just as much.
Yep. And
they clip you at across the board because you don't have any of these, what people say are tax loopholes, or what the government has left as breadcrumbs for high achievers to try to work the system to say. And so yeah, if they're raising the taxes on the rich, they bring all taxes up, and that gets to, if you're just getting by, and like in Minnesota, our sales tax is 9.75%.
Mm.
Wisconsin is at 5.5%.
So everybody goes to Wisconsin to shop.
So if you're within, 40-minute drive of Wisconsin, you're better off going over there because your dollar is going to go slightly further, and that's what you're trying to do now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And here in the metro, we all know there are people that do that. I mean, we're basically you're less than 30 minutes away from the Wisconsin border.
Correct.
Especially large ticket items.
Yeah.
When I lived in California, I would literally drive over to Orange County for certain big ticket items because sales tax was way cheaper than Los Angeles County.
Yeah. So I just heard today, and I think I saw this on News Nation. I've been watching News Nation lately. I don't know why. I like to see what different people are doing. That in the last 6 years, this is not just this is pre-Biden, but still, in the last 6 years, the price of fast food in America has essentially doubled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I haven't eaten fast food in probably about 4 or 5 years, but that's probably accurate.
And do you do that because you're healthy or just you don't want to spend the money?
Because I'm healthy.
Yeah. My wife won't do it either. See, I kind of love it. I'm a dirty human being, so I like the McDonald's and the Wendy's and stuff, but no, it's not cheap anymore. It isn't.
No.
People are. I'm not on TikTok, but I see these things, these videos. People are bitching about it. You can go to McDonald's and spend $70 for a combo meal. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, the one fast food that I did used to eat fairly regularly in California was In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, but the thing is, that's special.
It is special, but it's still considered fast food.
And for people who don't know this, it's the best fast food hamburger on the planet. It is. There's no doubt about it. So it's like that's almost an exception.
It is because not a whole lot of crap in it. Yeah. However, I remember the day, and I'm dating myself, but where I could actually buy a cheeseburger with fries and a shake or a burger. They call it the number one, where you get the combination.
Uh-huh.
I could use the change in my ashtray to pay for that. I could come up with $5.50 and change.
Uh-huh.
Now I think it's like $10-something for a number one now.
And that's double. That's right. Yeah. Or that would be, Jeff, for you, that would be a numero uno. Oh my God.
Yeah, I live with a food Nazi, so if I have any of that stuff, I have to make sure all the evidence.
Jeff, does Jennifer know this? Jeff's wife is an actual food scientist.
Yeah.
She actually does this for a living. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're living with a food Nazi there. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah.
So she knows about
years fiddling with frozen pizza. So I don't know.
Yeah. She worked for a big manufacturer of pizzas that's located here in the Twin Cities, and and again, and the funny thing is, she understands what food does internally. She understands how you prepare it and why you got to do what you got to do on mass scale. But she says there's not that much. You can eat healthy. Obviously it's going to be more than a $10 hamburger. But that chasm you have to jump isn't that far. And if you get onto it, her thing is you'll just, in long term, you'll eat less because you're eating healthier.
Big time.
And so
I eat, I also intermittent fast. So
yes.
I eat way less than I did years ago because I'm not as hungry, and the good stuff is way more filling. And so you fill up easily.
And it's just been interesting, that the food pyramid and all that stuff, you know, just as that gets debunked, the deeper you get into the corporate food manufacturers, you know,
Yeah.
because I
Well,
always said,
that was just all a ploy between business
yeah,
and the government.
you got it.
So
Yeah.
what
to
is
sell
it?
stuff.
It's all a big ploy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
It really is. Yeah. How the government just manipulates us, and these guidelines have gone into things like nursing homes and schools, and you know, it's just there. I forget what state it was, but this this mother was a healthy person, and the girl had health issues, and so she made her lunch, and they confiscated her lunch and then penalized her mother because of what she brought in for the daughter. It's like, this is how ridiculous we've gotten.
I've almost given up trying to understand what school boards are doing. It's like it's just so much craziness to me. It's mind-boggling.
Well,
You know?
it is craziness, and that's why you've got the parents' revolt going on.
So, I'm sorry. Say again, Jen. I didn't hear that.
That's why you have the parents' revolt going on.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to Corey DeAngelis. He's written a book, talking on, I forget whose program, somebody's program, and I think Megyn Kelly, and he said that 11 states have now instituted school choice, where, you know, if you want to go to public school, great.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you have a choice. Here's a voucher. You have a choice for Catholic, for Montessori, for homeschooling. We're going to recognize that school is not one size fits all, as well as, you know, public schools need to up their game if they want to keep kids.
You know, getting back to this thing about, you guys both brought up the gender thing, gender identity thing. It's amazing how just in the last few weeks, couple months, the backlash to this is becoming really real. I mean, so
Yeah.
in there was a major report that came out in Britain a few days ago that said straight out that gender identity is a mental illness, or transsexuality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, the transsexual community is going nuts over there. But
well, they went down the rabbit hole a long time ago. About, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, they closed their Tavistock Institute, which was where they were giving out the puberty blockers and doing transgender surgeries, and
yeah,
they started getting lawsuits. And so they went down the rabbit hole, and now they're coming out of the rabbit hole. We're still trying to put, you know, thanks to Biden, we're still trying to push down the rabbit hole.
yeah. Right.
And not to mention hurt girls through changing Title IX and doing all this other stuff.
That's the thing. I mean, that's the thing I find amazing. Is like, there's the women spent so many years trying to come up with, if not equalize it, at least come up with their own system, and they did.
Exactly.
And then these crazy boys came in and just took it over. I mean, I don't understand how anyone even tolerated this
and allowed taking it over. And where are the feminists? That I haven't seen hardly any feminists speaking up about this. And like you said, they fought hard for it. I remember when Title IX was a big deal.
I do too. And the other thing is, I have a lot of friends in the gay community. They are privately seething about this transsexual stuff because it's making them look bad, and it is. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this. The polling for people that are now against gay marriage has gone way up in the last year or two. Yeah. So I mean, it's like, and so they've quietly kind of tolerated this, and they're sick of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Well, kids are being used.
That's yes. Thank you, Jeff. You're right.
Yeah. In the end, whatever this thing is that's got this ball rolling only has one thing, and that is, let's have mass confusion, because with mass confusion we can say everyone needs a shot because there's a strong cold going through the community, and you know, it's just another of those control features that they don't ever tire of modifying what they're willing to try on people.
It's very much like the food pyramid to loop these things in together. If they got people sick, then they'll need pharmaceuticals. My thing was the whole, blood sugar and glucose and diabetes. If you're eating carbs, you're gonna need more insulin, you're gonna need more metformin, you're gonna need more Ozempic, whatever. It's all about selling you a product and keeping you hooked forever on a product. And with the transgender surgeries to minors, it destroys them. It destroys your hormonal development doesn't happen. You have to do all types of horrible things to yourself in order to maintain certain things. It's, it is, and it's forcing more medical care.
Yeah, and also as a minor, in some ways, you don't really have a choice either.
No, you don't. You didn't consent to that.
No.
And that's it's like, if you're an adult, do what you want to do. Yeah. Anybody under 18 should not be being pushed in this direction.
Yeah, and no, I've talked about this on the show before. I have not a friend so much as an acquaintance. I know somebody who very successfully had transsexual surgery. This was a woman, and I'll just be perfectly blunt here and use the phrase, it was the most butch woman you've ever seen in your life. She was basically a man with breasts. And she was very unhappy, and she decided to have the surgery, and she's way happier for doing it now. I mean, you have to know this person to know how that this was right for her. But the thing is, all the data seems to indicate those people are very, very rare. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this. The number of people that go through gender reassignment surgery, the number of suicides within 5 years is through the roof, way above the baseline of the public. So, I mean, that's I don't know. That's the problem with this, and also it's the problem with the press too. Is that everything's always either or. There's never any like gray area in anything.
There's no nuance, and like any grifter or opportunist, there are people gaming the systems.
Yeah.
In my work with Independent Women's Forum, they're focusing in talking about the way these men are now identifying as transgender, and they're being put into women's sections of the prison, and women are getting abused. Women are getting raped
all the time.
Yeah, it's disgusting now that they're, using the prison system to, reduce their sentences or stretch out their sentences because, I'm transgender. I'm a woman, I identify as woman now.
Hasn't anyone ever brought up how crazy the idea is that it's not that, that basically your sexuality is determined on what you feel like. I mean, I just find this just amazing. I feel like a woman. Well, F you, you're not one.
It's a total denial of science.
Yes.
It's like, no, you can never be a woman and I can never be a man because science.
Right.
XX and XY.
Jennifer, I want to ask you about a story you wrote about on Red State. And here's the headline. Kristi Noem's diminishment is less about stories and more about standards. You want to explain to people what you meant by that?
Sure. If you've been under a rock, Kristi Noem published a book. I think her second or third memoir in preparation for, VP pick, I guess.
Yeah.
And she told a really awful story about basically shooting a dog that nipped at her and ate chickens, and she told this story as, this shows that I'm a tough person who can get things done, and no matter how unpleasant. And basically, America, whether we're on the farm or whatever, we're dog lovers, okay? And for her to tell this story was just, all she did was damage control. On top of that, she also lied about meeting Kim Jong-il, or Un, the son of Little Kim, and also claimed to have met Macron or something or another,
and didn't. Right.
And didn't. And it's not like, and she's doing this book tour, and people are talking to her about it. I mean, first of all, she wanted to get away from the cricket story as fast as possible. And then when they asked her, well, did you actually meet Kim Jong-un? And she's just like, well, I don't talk about my meetings with world leaders. And it's like, Okay, either you did or you didn't.
Yeah. And if you don't talk about it, why'd you put it in the book?
Well, also, and oh well, they're going to correct these copies of the books, but you read the audiobook.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so she tried to blame, she tried to deflect, and I'm not sure how much you know about Noam, but there were rumors, stories that rose up and kept getting patted down about her having an affair with Corey Lewandowski.
Yeah, right. That's
one of Trump's
widely known, right?
Things about doing graft and corruption on behalf of her daughter. There's just a lot of stories out there that people were willing to give her the benefit of the doubt because she seemed credible. She seemed like she was a real fighter for constitutional conservatism, and she definitely is a fighter for Trump. But this book was just kind of icing on the cake that obviously you have no standards. You've been pretending all this time. and it's not about all of these stories. It's the fact that there's a pattern here that you're a liar. and
I would mention the fact that I actually think the way she's handled this is actually worse than was actually in the book. I mean,
most definitely.
She was booked to go on Greg Gutfeld's show. She canceled. They make merciless fun of her. But the thing is that actually, now he's not a politician, but it reminds me of when Hugh Grant went on Jay Leno years ago after he got caught with a prostitute. He still went on, and
it's true.
And Leno asked him the very famous question, what the hell were you thinking? And he answered it,
Yeah.
And it's like, she could have done the same thing. She could have gone on and they made fun of her. You shot a dog, and a bunch of jokes. And, she could have said, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, And it's like,
she had no sense of humor and she couldn't take the hits. And then played victim. And,
right.
It's the media. They just love to attack me. It's like, you gave them fodder here.
Yeah. I'm actually personally more upset about the thing about, it gets back to what I was saying before about personal stuff versus political. Okay, she shot the dog and I think that's terrible, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with her job. But she says she met Kim Jong-un and she met Macron and she didn't. Well, why the fuck are you lying about that?
Right.
Yeah. Well, why do you need to puff yourself up
that's
like
right.
this? If you have such a strong record as a governor, why? Yeah, I don't care if it is a small state.
And then you're right. And then on top of that, you're right. She says she does, she won't handle it. She can't get on, she can't, defend it or actually make fun of herself or anything. She can't handle it. I don't know.
It's that, I think a lot of it is that bubble that these politicians start to live in, and like Jennifer, like you say, all of a sudden, she gets away with a little bit of stuff, and then pretty soon it's, I can embellish this. The problem is the media is coming after you. You're right. You're a target. Yeah. So anything anything that you start to elaborate on that's BS, once they know that they've got you, they're like a bad dog. They're going to bite and not let go. Even if you shoot it, there's another one that's going to bite on in the same spot. And so I think it just shows you, and I've said it for years on shows with you guys, these politicians are as replaceable as that dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have a born on date of about 36 months and they should be replaced.
That's right. Yeah.
And pick them out of the phone book if there is one, or, let TikTok AI pick them. You're going to be just as well off because if you don't get a lot of time, you got 12 months to figure it out, 12 months to take advantage and screw the taxpayer. And in 12 months, you're gone. That's what has to happen with our government system. It isn't that important to have all this nonsense. And I don't know. It's just they really have a 36-month, and the Budweiser should be thrown out.
Yeah.
So years ago, I worked with a very brilliant writer, and he's passed now, named Tom Mitchell. Very, very brilliant guy. Funny as hell. And this was like 25 years ago, because I don't know if you guys have realized this. We've only really been able to predict the weather for the last 10 years, Right. I mean, so his thing is
accuracy.
right. Yeah, 25 years ago, he was saying, why don't we just do it like they do with jury duty? And that is, we'll pick names out of random, and then you have to go down to the television station for a week and do the weather. And it's just, well, the reason I brought that up is because I thought, maybe you could run the House of Representatives that way. In other words, if you are interested, you put your name in the big bin, and then we just pull one out at random, and you go there for 2 years. I don't see any reason,
Or make it conscripted service like the military used to be.
Yeah.
As a citizen of your state, you are required for 6 months every 5 years to serve in the state legislature.
Yeah, I don't see
why not.
I mean,
maybe
at the losers we have right now. We might as well just pick our loser at random.
Thank you. Yeah.
And again, people say, "Well, that isn't going to work." You don't know. I mean, we know what's going.
That's what the founders wanted.
Yeah, the last 50 years of my life prove this system isn't working either.
Yeah,
and so you can't just make an incremental change. You have to make a paradigm shift.
And honest to God, Jeff, could it be any worse than it is now? It might not be better, but it can't be worse.
No, because I think you throw caveats in there, like, one, you can't be a lawyer and put your name in this new barrel.
All right.
We don't need it.
Right.
Well, that's got to eliminate 3/4.
Yes, which is great. And then the other thing is, you can't have worked you can't be an administrator in some kind of school or college. You can be a teacher, but you can't be a teacher converted to an administrator. Again, these people don't understand how the money flows, and we've talked about it, Jim, the magic hand of how does this stuff get so perfected in our economy? And it's because of the magic hand. Things advance very quickly and then very slowly, but they're always advancing forward and getting better and refined. When you bring in someone that doesn't understand how the money flows through the system, and then they get in charge of making laws to govern the system, this is what you end up with. You're on a sled down a hill. There's all sorts of trees. And now these people are sitting backwards, like Kristi Noem, thinking about, how can I be vice president? Well, you can't be. And this is how it works. You shit your own bed, you're done. You can't blame anyone but yourself. You did it to yourself because you were a fraud.
Well, not just a fraud. It's like there used to be a concept of this is in service to the people. Now it's about I'm in service to myself or in service to a particular candidate or whatever. It's just like this race. I also make a point in the article about this whole, VP pageant that goes on. It's like, no, you want somebody who's credible and competent and really wants to serve the people and serve the presidency that they are in. Not, he ran for presidency and kind of lost, and so he'd be, or it's about, we want their constituents in the state, or their electoral votes. It's like, how about getting someone who actually wants to be of service? It was Nicole Shanahan, and I'm not saying she's a great candidate. She's really not, but she's also not a politician. So some of the things she says are very refreshing. And that was one of the things that she said, that all of my life has been about wanting to serve and being of service. And it's like, hey, if that's the only requirement for VP, then that's better than the long line of silliness that we're getting with people like Kristi Noem.
Yeah, and I think, Jennifer, I'm just going to restate what you're saying is in the next 20 years of elections, the continuity of shrinking government needs to go from the president and the vice president need to be on that same page. If they can get for 2 or 3 terms in succession of that continuity of shrinking this tax blood suck out of the citizens, That's the only way it's going to work. People, I
Yeah.
think, are overconfident in what Trump can do, only because this behemoth will put its foot on his throat 4 seconds after he wins this election, which I believe he will win. And then they'll exert that pressure, and it comes from, I mean, he's a smart guy. He likes to bullshit, but he never had any clue of all the angles the pressure was going to come at.
Nah.
And
Or
anyone around him
how
didn't
deeply
understand it.
entrenched people are in
Yeah.
their systems.
Right. Jeff, I wouldn't say he had no clue, but he definitely underestimated it.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Big time. Big time. Yeah. And sadly trusted the wrong people.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the people that he had on his administration, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then now suppose, you know, the word that's coming out is that he's corrected a lot of this stuff with his campaign. I mean, people say who are watching this say the campaign's running way better than it did in 16 and 20. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically like a well-oiled machine. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. But I mean, Jeff, you're absolutely right. It's going to be very daunting. He's going to, you know.
Yeah, and that's why the continuity of the vice president, you can't pick, you know, the best looking frat rat or sorority girl to be your wing person. These two are going to need to work in conjunction, because Trump's only, if he wins, he's got 4 years, so he's already a lame duck day one. And so how do you set these? How do you put this plan in place? A succession plan, like any successful business does. Like, you know, we're going to have turnover at the top, but our core values are, these are the core values. Here's the 5 core values. We both agree on them. And we're going to keep that's where the focus and the pressure is going to be.
And the focus needs to be, I think Trump said it in one interview, a person who can credibly take over as president. I mean, that's what they are, one heartbeat away from the presidency.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are frightened to death about Kamala Harris because she won. And I was frightened to death with Joe Biden. I mean, seriously, anybody who looked at him back in the VP days, it's like, why did they put this man up as president? And why do people, the short memories of certain people just amaze me sometimes.
Well, he was the default candidate. He was the least objectionable of everybody, which is not a good reason to run anyone.
And he wouldn't overshadow Obama, and he'd kind of do what he was told. But yeah.
And as a Republican, we've had him for years. McCain, Bob Dole.
Yeah.
You know, we're used to these turds coming in. They just never won. Their turd won.
That's very well put, Jeff. That's true. You're right.
This is what you get.
They ran better campaigns. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna I got one thing here I was gonna bring up about so have you guys seen this? As I'm completely changing the subject here, about the fact that there's people in Iran right now saying that they actually do have a nuclear weapon. One of their former ambassadors has said, you know, they're not publicizing it, but they actually do have one. And then somebody from the what, if you want to call it, administration or whatever they got going on, however you call it over there, has kind of said, no, that's not true, but it might be true. So, you know, it's like, and that's really great. It's like, give the crazy people some bombs. It's like, I don't know what to make of that, but I was just wondering if you guys heard this. Or
I have not heard that.
I have not either. It's Israel and Hamas is enough to drive one crazy.
Well, that's of course the thing. You know, it's like not only will Israel get bombed if this is true, but the United States probably will too.
Yeah,
you know,
no doubt.
They won't. They don't have a missile that will get here, but they'll put it in a suitcase and have some guy get off the plane in LaGuardia. You know,
or come over the southern border.
Yeah. Right. That's right.
So easy.
I mean, they can't really estimate how many people have. I guess the best estimate is about 7 million people. It could be up to 10 or 11.
Well, we know
somebody's saying 12.
Yeah, we can directly. The correlation will be if there's 3 million that have left California. There's 3 million replacement border jumpers there. There's 1 million in Minnesota. Whatever's left.
Well, they've flown them all over the country, though.
They're making sure that they don't get that they don't lose any congressional seats because of the population change of the productive fleeing the red state or the
but they're
blue
making
states.
their way in in Decatur, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. They had a busload of illegal immigrants coming in applying for work. So they're infiltrating everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know where the threat is because nobody's tracking the threat.
And Jeff, I was, you know about economics. I was going to bring this up about the fact that some studies have finally come out, which I just think is master of the obvious bullshit. But people saying, well, in Europe and the UK, they were thinking that these migrants are actually kind of boost the economy. And I'm thinking, how the hell did you get that idea? It's like, okay, cheap labor. But the thing is, first of all, how much cheap labor do we need? We have AI just on the freaking doorstep here. Is going to put a whole bunch of people out of business. And these people, they don't have any skills. So even though they're cheap labor, they're not going to make a lot of money. They're not going to put a lot of money into the economy. Where do you get the idea that this is going to help? I mean,
they're not going to, keep or improve the quality of anything. They're probably going to destroy a system rather than build a system.
Exactly.
As well as have you looked at Sweden and where is it, Amsterdam? Have you looked at that in a while? Yeah. Have you looked at Germany?
Yes, Germany's a mess.
They're trying to shut their borders now.
That's right.
Right. You can't shut the door because the animals are inside your country. They'll just push the door back open.
Yeah. Right. I don't understand. I mean, it's like, I'm no freaking genius. I don't understand how anybody ever got this idea that this was going to help the economy. I mean, I don't understand there's people in the Biden administration think the same thing, that letting these people in the country is going to help the economy. No, it's not.
No. I mean, everyone's grass will look nice and trimmed, and the McDonald's will be different. We'll be busy with people that's all they can afford. And Walmart will have a bunch of people in it, which I saw an article on Conk that Walmart is telling their people they got to come back to their 3 major offices. They can't work remote. There's so much still in the system from the COVID disruption that
they did it to themselves.
Yes.
I have no sympathy for Walmart or Target or any of these major corporations that did this to people. Yep. I really don't, because
Target's main headquarters that moved out of Minneapolis, they built this big, beautiful campus up in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, about 25 minutes from downtown Minneapolis. It's over 1 million square feet of office space. And I just drove by it, headed up to North Dakota last weekend on Friday, and there was maybe 200 cars in the parking lot. So
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
If you own Target stock, remember the majority of their money being spent as the electric bill to keep their world headquarters cooled and heated with no productive people in it.
And Jeff, I'm sure you've heard this. The office vacancy rate in downtown Minneapolis is 30%. My niece is an architect, and I was actually talking to her about this because I'd read this. Matter of fact, I might have forwarded this to you. I can't remember. There's an article about the fact that in the New York Post about the fact that it's way harder people say, well, let's convert all the office buildings to apartments. But because of the way these buildings are built, it's actually very difficult. And I was asking her about this, and she said, she confirmed that's true. It's very difficult to trick a office building out for residential.
This is why they don't have a whole lot of mixed use, and they don't, there's different zoning laws.
Yes, and if they're wired differently, the plumbing's different. It's all sorts of crap. Yeah.
You need a bathroom every 10 feet, and in the office building, it's set up for every 200.
That's right. So, exactly.
I was in a meeting, economic development meeting a couple of weeks ago, and a banker was talking about the owners of the bank are really proactive with their small businesses that have in their loan portfolio that have real estate attached, and that they're looking at anything that renews in 25, 26, or 27, and getting the business bankers out to meet with these people to say, your building loan is at 4% or 4.5%, 5%. What does that look like when that thing's going to be at 9 or more in 36 months or 24 months? And it was like the air got sucked out of the room. A lot of the people in the room, I know, were doing it in their head, like, holy buckets. What would that do if the interest on my building loan basically doubles, which means taxes are going to double.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go up just as fast. And I just thought, man, that is a big semi heading down your lane on the freeway. And it's going to hit you. It's just, what do you do? And this is going to be after all these metropolitan areas get their real estate toilet flushed, because you can't convert those buildings into anything.
Yep.
There was an article in a trade magazine. There was the tallest commercial building in Fort Worth, Texas, sold 15 years ago for $137 million. It just went on the auction, sold for $12 million.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
So those things, that money, that $100 and some million of theoretical worth or whatever, it's got to flush out of the system now. Someone's holding a dead piece of paper. Someone's got a $12 million building. Can they afford to even pay the heat the first month or the electricity or what? I mean, those things in 2007 and 8, those things all came. That deck of cards fell on the table in one big bloop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it's going to be, you're going to bleed out all across 50 states and really super complicated banking is going to have to happen. And again, that's why I say Trump, if he gets in, it is such a mess that you're going to have to use a machete when you should use a scalpel, but it's going to be machete time. He's going to have to just slash the spending of the government, which will scare the hell out of old people, which they don't need to be afraid. But I truly, and we've talked about this in the past shows, it's going to be local. You're going to go help your neighbor because the world's falling apart. And so you're not going to drive across town. You're going to say, Mrs. Jones, what do you need help with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we will take care of each other. The government will shit their bed and cause all sorts of problems. And you'll just have to push them away that, I'm sorry, school teachers, your pension went bust. Mrs. Jones needs her lawn cut. Bring your lawnmower over there. You're going to help and not cry.
Yeah. The only thing about that, Jeff, is that
Straps.
if the economics infrastructure or structure of the country, if the economy completely collapses, we're all kind of screwed. I mean,
but we're all screwed. It's not going to be
true.
a pocket.
Yeah. Right.
And with that, we're all in the same boat. Now they can separate us because, we got to go after the rich or the uneducated or the not quite educated, or when it's an economic collapse and you're all standing there going, what are we going to do? The magic candles start to work and things will pick up. And then when the government comes back and says, well, we need this, everyone's going to say, we played that card.
Right.
You're done.
Right. It's just like people talking about this bird flu crap. Yeah. Try that. Go ahead. Try putting the bird flu on us. Yeah. Like we've heard that story before.
Yeah.
We don't play that anymore. I tell you what, on that very depressing note, I'm going to let you guys go.
We seem to end on these depressing notes.
I know. I'm sorry. No, it was a note of hope.
Thank you.
It was a note of hope.
Thank you.
Wrapped in, if the economy collapses, we're all in the same boat. It'll be a boat of hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're both beautiful human beings, and I actually mean that. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Jennifer, great to see you.
Yeah.
Great to see you, and we'll keep our prayers and fingers crossed for your surgery. Hopefully,
thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, folks.
All
I'll
right.
put the bumper on. We'll see you. Take care. That's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from redstate.com and at asthegirlturns.com. That's our Substack feed. And Jeff Meyer, who's the CEO and publisher of Conk News, our sponsor here at conk.com, CONK.com. Seriously, check that out if you get a chance. If you're a news junkie, it's like I've said this before, it's like a sexual experience, and it pretty much is. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Okay, so this is part 3. Before we go tonight, I got a couple of things here. Part 3 is all the weird paranormal stuff and the UFO stuff and all this sort of stuff, and the science stuff. And believe it or not, I have 2 actual science stories here. And one is about the fact, now I don't know if you probably remember this in school, the lost colony of Roanoke, which is actually Roanoke, North Carolina, is where it is. Roanoke Island is an island in North Carolina between the mainland and the Outer Banks. It's not that big, but it was the first settled colony by European settlers in North America, and that was like in 1611 or something like that. I mean, so this is going back a real. No, it was 1500. What am I talking about? It was the 1500s. So what happened here in the 1500s, this colony came over, they settled this island, and the guy who ran the colony, his name was Roanoke. They named it after him. He went back to England to get some supplies and stuff. He got delayed. It took him 5 years to return, and when he came back, there was nobody. There was not a trace of anyone, but carved on 2 trees was the word Croanoan, Croanoan, right? Now he said though that was the code word of what they were going to put in if something went wrong. So he knew that there was some meaning to that. They never could find the rest of the people. So this has been a mystery for like now 500 years. And some people some archaeologists on that island who have been digging stuff up, they think they're coming close to figuring out what happened. And what they think now, their conjecture is that the white European settlers assimilated into the Native American population. That's what it appears from stuff they're finding literally buried in the dirt. And also the proximity of the stuff to each other. Like, for example, they found an earring, which was obviously European manufactured because it had a copper wire in it, right next to a pot, a Native American pot. That's the theory they're going on right now. But they say that they're going to dig up to do more digging, and they say they think they can confirm this. But at any rate, it's kind of interesting. People have been wondering about this for many, many years. It was a true mystery. That's like they came back and nobody was there. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of definitively figure that out. And then the second thing I got tonight, and we were talking with the panel there about AI came up a little bit. So there's a theory right now that AI will basically kill off humanity. That would be us, right? Us. And the theory extends to the fact, there's Fermi's paradox, which that was Emilio Fermi came into the cafeteria. I think it was at Los Alamos. They're all working there, scientists. They're having lunch, and they're talking about life in the universe. And Fermi says during lunch, he says, "Well, if there's life in the universe, where is everybody?" That was a big question. Apparently, at the table, everybody laughed. But people realize he had a point, and that is if there's intelligent life in the universe, how come they haven't found us or let us know yet? Now we have, and we've had panels here. We had the UFO panel last week, and we talked about this too. They're discovering about a dozen exoplanets every day. I mean, so far they've come up in the last since 2006, I think it is. They've discovered 1,500 of them, These are planets outside of our solar system. And they're adding about, literally about a dozen a day. And apparently the number's going to increase as we send up more um, really good telescopes. This is the James Webb telescope. The Hubble wasn't really quite good enough to do this stuff. The Webb telescope is. But now people are starting to ask the same thing, and that is they're finding more and more planets. They haven't actually confirmed life on any of them, but more of them seem to be conducive to life. It's called the Goldilocks planet, not too hot, not too cold, that sort of thing. And also they can tell by the spectral signatures of these planets about what the composition of their atmospheres are, how much water there is, that sort of thing. They're finding more and more planets where it appears that life could thrive. And then the question is, if we're finding more of them, where's the life? That's the question. And a lot of the theory right now that's being propagated is that civilizations like ours only have about 200 years of quote unquote, lack of a better term, high technology in them, because then they develop AI and the AI ends up killing off all the beings on the planet. There's a theory of that right now. Now, I have no idea. The tech community is very, very divided on this. Some people think that AI is going to be the death of us, literally, and some people think that's all bullshit. And I don't know what to think. There's a lot of things I don't talk about in the show because I literally don't know what to think. A big thing I brought up recently is Ukraine. I don't know what to think. I don't know. We should, on the one hand, we're fighting our enemy by proxy. On the other hand, it looks like it's turned out to be another forever war. I don't know what to think. Ed Morrissey's coming on the show on Tuesday. On his last appearance, he gave a very, very impassioned and very cogent, logical reason why we should support Ukraine. Best I've ever heard. And he definitely moved my needle for sure. But I still don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about AI either. I just don't know. But that theory is that AI kills off whatever civilization develops it, and because of that, they're not around anymore. I don't think that's true. I mean, I'm just telling you on the vast majority of data that I personally gathered about the UFO situation, it appears to me, and people who said they've been abducted have said that aliens have told them this, that they've sealed our planet off from outside communication, and they have ways of doing that because their technology is magic, of course. And so that's the reason we can't contact or communicate with anybody. They say that we're not ready yet, so they've made it a point that we can't. And that's actually what I think. I don't think it's a matter of the fact that I don't think AI is killing off, because there's too many people who say these people are coming here. I call them people. They're people, you know. And Kathleen Martin was on the show. She calls them people too, you know. And and it's it's interesting. You can't assume that one um, civilization is coming here. There's a whole bunch of different civilizations, and a lot of these beings are kind of sort of like us. I mean, for lack of a better term, mammalian. They walk on two legs. They've got heads. They seem to be there's enormous amounts of reports from people who say they've talked to these beings, that they have emotional lives and they have family lives very, very similar to ours. And then I'm sure there's beings that we have no clue what's going on, that are completely, totally different. There's a theory that DNA is a constant throughout the universe. And then you wonder, well, how could that be? But there's a theory that is that. I know that Francis Crick, the guy, one of the discoverers of DNA, he said very famously, he said DNA is too complicated to have happened by evolution. Somebody had to design this because it's just too freaking complicated. I have heard through the grapevine that supposedly people who have dissected and done autopsies on the little gray aliens said they have DNA, but where our DNA, we have 4 proteins involved. Theirs have 3, but it's still DNA. It's different than ours, but it's still DNA. It's the same system. So I don't know. It's really interesting. Uh, who knows? That's the thing. And I have a friend of mine watches the show regularly. A very intelligent guy. He thinks all this UFO stuff and all this alien stuff is complete bullshit. And my thing is that I don't. You had hundreds of thousands of people at this point saying this stuff. And even if 95% of them are either lying or completely mistaken or crazy, that still leaves 5%, and that's tens of thousands of people. It was the same thing they realized in Project Blue Book, and Stan Friedman years ago, he talked about the same thing. Consistently, 95% of all reports of UFOs have either been people who are mistaken, lying, host hoaxing, or crazy. In other words, they're not real. But that still leaves 5%. And that 5% is, well, in terms of Blue Book, I mean, he even mentioned it was 17,000 reports was 5% of it, and that could not be explained at all. So, I mean, it gets to the thing. Well, who was I talking about on the show? I think was it Bruce Solheim? I can't remember now. Too many people, too many guests together, and that is we should have maybe looked at this from a scientific point of view so much as, and I'm not trying to be funny here, so much as a criminal point of view. In other words, it's not whether science can definitively prove that this stuff is happening. It's more like the criminal trial, where in a civil trial you use the preponderance of evidence. There's two different systems. In a criminal trial, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil trial, it's a preponderance of evidence. If you can actually show preponderance of evidence, you're considered guilty. But of course, it's not people don't go to jail for civil suits. So it's a lesser standard. But I'm starting to wonder if it should be the same thing. I would say we have a preponderance of evidence. So I don't know. What do I know, huh? I'm just a guy on the inner tube talking to you. I want to thank you folks for watching. We have tomorrow night, we're going to do a call-in show. Who knows if Blog Talk Radio is going to be up and running or not? I have no idea. I don't. I'm getting quite pissed off about this. I told them if they don't get this fixed, reliable, and it has been working. Thing is, it drops in and out. It was working the previous night on Monday night. It was working. So, yeah. But at any rate, yeah. So I got a monologue, and you guys call in tomorrow. Anything you want to talk about. And then we're gonna do a monologue on Monday, and Ed Morrissey on Tuesday. He's coming on. So thanks for watching. My thanks again to Jennifer Oliver O'Connell and Jeff Meyer. I really appreciate it. A nice conversation there. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie, and good night to you wherever you are. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, everybody.